Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the Railway and welcome to another review of a bargain piece of rolling stock. Right, so far this year already, Oxford Rail have produced some amazing models. The N7, I absolutely loved it. The railgun looks really incredible. And so that, as I said earlier this year, has gotten me hungry to find out what else Oxford Rail has on offer. So I was browsing through some of their products and sure enough, something did catch my eye, and it was this. And surprise, surprise, what caught my eye about this was the price. And we'll get to that in just a second. But as you can see, this is a Great Western Toad, or an ex-Great Western Toad. I believe this is actually a BR version of it, and as you can see, it's in this lovely grey livery with the white handrails. It looks really attractive, so that caught my eye too. But as I say, the main thing that caught my eye was the price. So £12.50. Now, if you've never bought a brand new brake van before, and I don't know that I have really, the going rate, if you go to a different manufacturer such as Hornby or Bachmann, the going rate for a basic box standard brake van is £17 to £25. So once again, here are Oxford Rail knocking them out of the water again with £12.50. So I thought, for that price, you know what, I'm going to pick one up and do a review. I could do with a decent detailed brake van anyway. So we're going to be taking a look at this today. It certainly is inexpensive, but whether it's any good or not, we don't know. So we're going to find that out today. So come with me, we're going to get this unboxed and we'll take a nice close look at it together. All right, the Oxford Rail Toad brake van. So yes, I mean, good old Oxford Rail, such good prices all round really, and to be honest, if you think about it, it's one thing to have very inexpensive locomotives because they're very complex and multifaceted things, and so it's probably a bit easier to find ways to cut costs. But with a product like this that is already quite inexpensive, I mean 20 quid for a highly detailed scale model is quite inexpensive, so when it comes to this there's not an awful lot of room for manoeuvre, and still Oxford Rail are coming out cheapest. So how they do it I don't know, but I'll be looking forward now to see what this is like. So let me show you the end of the box. So it's always a bit awkward to read the Oxford labels because they're always sort of the wrong way around, but this is OR76 TOB004. It's a BR Toad 4-wheel Barla, I think that's the name of the depot, and at number 56449. And that's basically all there is to see on the box. It's just a little bit of, well, I don't even know what that is, but it's not about the model on the back, so we won't bother going into that. So I've not had this out of the box before. I've been saving it ever since I bought it, so let's get this out, shall we, and find out what this is like. And I think this is probably my first ever super detailed brake van that I've had, certainly the first that I've reviewed at least. So let's take this out. Let's see what the weight's like. Yeah, there seems to be some weight there. You don't really get a good sense of the weight really until the model's out of the packaging and right in your hands. It's always difficult to gauge it otherwise. But okay, let's get this out then and see what this Toad is like. All right, wow. So you can tell straight away what a lovely model this is and what a high level of detail there is on this. The weight is okay, I mean it's not dreadfully heavy, and I have had that a couple of times with Oxford Rail rolling stock. It is a little bit on the light side, but it's not criminally light. I can't imagine this derailing because of how light it is or anything like that, although of course we will find out later on. But yeah, look at that, look at the lettering. The handrails, I mean there's just so much detail on this. So what I'll do is I'll give you a little bit of history on the Toad brake vans and on brake vans in general, and once I've done that we will take a nice close look at this thing. It already looks very impressive. So the Great Western were using Toads on their goods trains from as early as 1894, since many wagons couldn't have their brakes operated remotely due to only having manual handbrakes fitted. So guards of course would travel within the interior or out on the veranda of the brake vans during shunting work, and more generally brake vans would carry shunters tools, first aid kits, and even sand for improved traction on the rails for both acceleration and deceleration of course. Now brake vans were no longer an official requirement from 1968 onwards, and while some brake vans continued to be operated, many were withdrawn and scrapped, and that was certainly the case with a lot of the Great Western Toads. Alright, so there we go then with a nice close look at the Oxford Rail Toad brake van, and it is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? And once again on this channel we're in that situation where the price of the model completely fails to match up to the model itself, to the calibre of the model itself. But in this case, for once, I'm not saying that in a bad way, because the level of detail on this is absolutely astonishing for the price. So first of all, we'll talk a little bit about construction. Now, the vast majority of this model is built in plastic. There are no major die-cast features of this model, which is probably the reason why it doesn't weigh an awful lot, but I'm hoping that that's not going to be a massive issue when we get it down onto the track. Now, I say most of the model is made of plastic. That doesn't mean all. There are a couple of small die-cast pieces. The wheels, for example, are made of metal, which is quite good to see. And one feature that was quite pleasing was the buffers. As you can see, they're not just plastic painted into a slightly metallic paint. They do genuinely appear to be made of metal, which is a really, really nice touch. But apart from that, yes, I think the model is mainly plastic. But once again, for the price, I can't really imagine what else is going to be made of, really. It's not going to be made of gold, is it? Anyway, let's take a look at some of the paintwork then. So we have the name of the depot there, which is Bala RU. Not absolutely sure what that stands for. And then not in common use. So I wonder if this is one of those brake vans that had been withdrawn from service. I'm not absolutely sure. So if anybody knows for sure, do let me know. But anyway, either way, it's nicely printed, isn't it? You've also got the running number there, W56449, I think that is. And of course, the W there indicates that it is Western region. And there's also a little sign there that tells us the weight, 16 tonne, as you can see there. And also, just look at the panelling effect on the side there. Now, the way this camera makes it looks almost as though it's been weathered, right? It's not been weathered, obviously, it is pristine, but just the way that the light falls on this is just so beautifully realistic, isn't it? It must just be the way that the material reflects the light. Something about it just looks ultra realistic. I think it's also a really, really spot-on shade of grey as well. And you can see that the roof is a slightly different shade as well, which really contrasts very, very nicely. And speaking of contrasts, as you can see, we've got this very, very white handrail, or it might not even be a handrail, I suppose, around the sides of the model. They do appear to be separately fitted because they stand proud quite nicely from the main bodywork. And as you can see, they're painted into this brilliant white. The brilliant white does sort of crust off the handrails in a few places, which doesn't look too bad, to be honest, but it is noticeable if you look too closely. But overall, not a major criticism. If you look closely at the ends, we've also got these, well, I suppose they're probably lamp irons, aren't they, which also stand proud from the bodywork. Presumably those are separately fitted as well because they are really, really nice and fine. Now, as I've already said, the bulk of the bodywork on this is made of plastic, but that doesn't seem to have affected the stability at all. As you can see, you've got this lower section here where I think you would stand on the wagon. That looks like it's barely attached to the model at all, but you can touch it and it doesn't flex at all. So there's an awful lot of stability there, and it is just plastic. So that's very, very impressive. There's also an awful lot of separately fitted detail. If we look at this end, for example, you can see actual glazed windows. Now that is an amazing touch for such an inexpensive wagon. Very realistic looking glazed windows as well. And even on the inside, on the sort of veranda, you've got glazed windows as well, which is just astonishing. Really, really good. And you won't believe this, but there's even interior detail. I'm not going to be able to get it in shot, but if you just look through these windows with your eyes, if you've got one, you can, at the far end, just see a few sort of what look like controls. It's just insane. There's no way on this earth you'd ever get a glance on that. And I was really I had to shut one eye and literally look through those panes to see it. But it is there. It's just incredible. And the ceiling and the floor in the veranda is even ultra detailed. You can see we've got that sort of panelled effect on the ceiling and also a different coloured panelling effect on the ground, which just looks like a wooden floor. And you've also got the controls inside there, including the brake for the guard there, which is just great. And if I turn this upside down, not only will you get a better view of the metal wheels, but you'll also see some of the brake rigging attached there. It's a little dark, isn't it? But yeah, you can see it there. Ultra realistic. Again, you wouldn't really see it, would you, really, when it's running? But it is there, and it is very, very detailed, actually. Very, very impressive. So yeah, I mean, the detail is just incredible. Interior detail, separately fitted metal buffers, you know, so much painted detail, absolutely wonderful. And by the way, if you want to pick yourself one of these up, I have included a link in the description. For £12.50, it's, well, I found that it was almost rude not to, so I couldn't resist. If you can't either, then go pick yourself one up if you fancy it. But for the time being, let's get this down onto the track and see how this thing runs. So down onto the track then, you can see I have my 4575X Great Western tank engine there, coupled up to just a small consist of wagons, but you will notice something missing. There is no brake van on the back of that train. Oh, how handy, how very handy, because I just happen to have this Oxford Rail brake van, which I'm about to put onto the track for the very first time. Alright, well, let's do it then. This has got to be easily the most detailed brake van that's ever been on my railway. Okay, it's on the track. I was about to say we will test how free running it is, but it seems to be wanting to couple up to the train anyway. But yeah, as you can see, that is astonishingly free running. It's still going, in fact, out of shot. Right, I've given it a tiny, tiny, tiny nudge. You can just see how long it goes for. So this thing is just ridiculously free running. Look at that. I didn't really intend to couple straight away, but it seems to be desperate to. So it seems to be just fine on the track. And thinking about it, of course, go on then, I'll let it couple. It doesn't really matter that it's that light because, of course, let's give it a little push, shall we? Because, of course, it goes at the back of the train more often than not, and so it's never going to have the weight of a train on its couplings. If it was a shunter's truck, for example, which tends to go at the front of a train, then that would be a bit different, because obviously if it was too light, it would pull itself off with the weight of a train behind it. But no, that looks absolutely gorgeous, doesn't it, coupled to that train? So I'm going to get the 4575 to haul it off out of shot. There we go, and we'll see how it handles curves and things. Man, that looks fantastic, doesn't it? I really didn't know what I was missing, did I, before I got some decent rolling stock, but that is just wonderful. Anyway, so I thought we would do a little bit of a Great Western running session alongside it. So here we have the 5600, which is a 062 locomotive with a medium-sized rake of Great Western coaches, which look quite nice with her, I think. And then on the middle line we have the 72XX, which is a very, very large Great Western tank engine. In fact, I think it's probably the largest ever. And it is quite slow, so it's taken a while to get into shot. But as you can see, it has got a train of box fans there, and it's also got a toad on the back. Now, I used to say these toads were detailed from Hornby. Look at that, how could it stop on express points? It's got so many driving wheels. Anyway, yeah, I used to say these things were detailed, but they look like absolute toys compared with the Oxford version. It's just that good. Right, let's see how this looks then, shall we? Ah, yes, look at that. Seriously though, don't Oxford Rail make some good models? I mean, seriously good models. And cheap as well. And the fact that they're cheap doesn't seem to ruin the models either, which is something that many other manufacturers can't get right. But Oxford haven't been at this for that long. And they have got it right now, they really have. It's not just a fluke with the N7, this is multiple good models coming from Oxford in quite a short space of time. There we are, it's a 5600. Nice powerful run of that one. It's a good Bachmann loco, so handles those coaches just fine. We got the brake van covered up there by the 71, or 72XX even. Did I call it a 71 earlier? Oh, people have jumped down my throat for that one. Sorry, folks. That's lovely, though. I reckon I'm going to jump online after this review and see what else I can get from Oxford, because that's impressive, isn't it? Impressive is definitely the word. Can't wait now till they get some more locos out. Really can't wait. Seems like a good long while since I've done a Great Western running session. Might have to put an end to that and do one. Alright, so here are some of my ratings then for the Oxford Rail Toad. Now detailed, now I have to be honest here, I don't know an awful lot about the prototypes, so I can't really make a comment about accuracy, although of course it does look an awful lot like a Toad to me, but like I say, I'm no expert so I can't say for sure. However, the level of detail, I will go with my gut and say was definitely a 5-star. I think it was seeing that interior detail that did it for me. Just looking through that window, knowing that there probably wasn't going to be anything back there, and seeing those controls was just crazy. But yeah, the level of detail is definitely a 5-star. And performance, it really doesn't have to do much, really, does it? It has to sit at the back of the train, it needs to take points, it needs to take curves, all of which it does just perfectly. So performance, what can you say? It doesn't do anything wrong, so it's got to be a 5-star. It's just fine. Quality, I've decided to give it a 4-star on the quality. Generally the quality is very, very good. The model holds together very, very nicely. It is quite plasticky though. Most of the construction is made of plastic, which isn't a massive issue. It does make the model a little bit light, but it doesn't affect the performance. And also there's a slight bit of paint peeling on some of the separately fitted parts. Not a major issue, and it's certainly not noticeable unless you're looking very, very close. But I think that does mean that I suppose I can't give it a full 5-star on the quality, but the quality is very good, don't get me wrong. And of course, when it comes to value, I am at risk of stating the obvious, but £12.50 for this highly detailed model to me sounds like a wonderful, wonderful bargain. And it seems that I'm unable to recommend this highly enough. It really is a decent model. Decent model is an understatement, by the way. It's a wonderful model. I absolutely love it, as I'm sure you can tell. Link in the description if you want to pick one up. I can certainly recommend it. Overall then, that is 9.52 out of 10. As far as wagons go, in my opinion at least, this is damn near perfect. So let me know, folks, in the comments, did you enjoy this one? I probably don't need to give an answer on that, I certainly did, and I'm desperate now to do some more rolling stock. Never thought I'd enjoy it, I'll be honest with you. I thought, no, I'm going to stick with locos, not boring old rolling stock. But I was certainly wrong about that, wasn't I? Yes, most enjoyable. In fact, I've got a Bachmann Toad, which I'm yet to unbox and review, so I'll save that and we'll get to that one day soon. Ugh. Somebody else wants a slice of that toad, I reckon. Well, there you go then, folks. I can officially say now that I am a fan of the Oxford Rail Toads. Real big fan. Yep, you're going to see this wagon a lot more on my railway. In fact, it's going to be difficult to choose any other wagon to run with a Great Western train. Yes, it's going to be hard to get variety. But no, I enjoyed that and I hope you did as well. So thank you very much for watching, folks. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your company. And I will see you all very soon. And don't forget, let me know what other bits of rolling stock I should review. I want to get some more.